Compact discs, just $12.99 each. Get red tag savings store-wide now at Musicland.
Welcome back to another awesome video.
Today we've got this 1986-87-ish boombox, and it's got a bunch of speakers.
1, 2, 3, well.
4-speaker boombox. J.C. Penney was really doing some over-the-top boomboxes in 86 and 87. In the 87 catalog, they had double cassettes like this, but they also had a triple, even a quadruple cassette. So why not just have a boombox crammed full of speakers? Most boomboxes generally have speakers on either side and something in the middle, whether it be controls or cassettes. This one just has a bunch of speakers, resulting in a very interesting look.
You're one ugly mother.
It looks okay, it's just...
There was a trend in the 80s for a while where the boombox is coming out with extra woofers, and I think this was trying to mimic that. We'll see when we get into it. These are nothing special here, but there's a little red ring around these, and they look larger, but it's actually the same. This is really a low-end boombox.
You know, these are pretty, this one's pretty cool.
Just this one sounds a ton better. Like, I wouldn't, like, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't buy this just because it has dubbing capability over this. This sounds a lot better. Anyway.
If you remember our video, which is the Destin, where we took this to Destin.
Since the front of the boombox is all speakers, the top panel is sort of at an angle, and it contains both cassette decks and all the controls. Starting on the left side is a 5-band graphic equalizer and dual volume control sliders with a little scale above them. Below that, you've got a normal or high-speed dubbing switch. To the right of that are the 2 cassette decks. Just basic one-directional mechanisms. No tape type selectors. Nothing fancy here. No Dolby. To the right of the cassette decks is the tuner.
Yeah.
Got AM/FM stereo.
They were Memphis local band.
In motion, now they got a fullback over there.
This one was sold in J.C. Penney, but this particular boombox model is also sold as the Lloyd's Model 444 and the Uher Power Port 110. It also appears to be mimicking the Hitachi 3D series of boomboxes, but it's not. We'll see the speakers, how they're wired in a second. No line ins or outputs, no flashy VU meters, no tape type selectors. The main features are the graphic EQ, dubbing, and of course all these speakers. It just lets you know it's here to make some noise, whereas this one is more for actual listening. And so that's about all we have to say about the J.C. Penney boombox. The remainder of the video is going to be opening it up and revealing how cheap it is on the inside. Needless to say, I don't recommend buying this one. For those who want to stick around and see the insides, let's go to the repair section. So this boombox had a rough life, and you can tell there's some minor dents on the grill. There's paint splatter, so it's probably used in the background for painting. We've got a broken handle, got a crack in one of the cassette lids. The radio, of course, works.
And love at first sight. And it's always no work and all with that mindset.
Radio works. Now, one of the eject springs is not working, but this tape deck actually works. You got to kind of lift it up. Yeah. A little bit slow. This one, I don't think will run at all, but it tries. Electronics are all good. It's probably just belts, cleaning, that kind of thing. We'll take it apart and see where we go from there. These lids just come right off. Ooh, that one's about to break in multiple pieces. So this lid is like disintegrating. I might need to put some glue on that. This one at least tries to turn the tape. That one doesn't turn, but if you give it a little boost, it'll start going with some sort of noise in the background. There's all the screws on the bottom. I think there's 7 screws there. You got 2 small screws on the side and 1 coming in the top underneath the cassette door. And once you do all that, ta-da. So once we're inside, the cheapness sort of becomes really evident. Look, looks like there's 1 motor for both cassette mechanisms. Also on the speakers, they are all the same speaker. I mean, the only difference, I guess the center ones have more space behind them for bass. Oh yeah, so this must be the amp down here. So you got all your preamp and cassette deck tuner stuff up here, power and amplifier down there. So maybe this is just an extra ground wire. So if you look at the way this is wired, you see these 2 speakers are receiving the same signal in these 2 speakers. So these 2 are the right channel, these 2 are the left channel. So So much for special frequencies in the middle going to a woofer. It's just a bunch of speakers. They are NMB, looks like 6 ohm, 2 watt speakers, and no special frequency stuff here. Okay, so there are 2 screws holding this board in, so after that we should be able to get this out. There's the record play switch and access the belt underneath. Okay, yeah, there we go. Okay, so this won't be too bad. We got this belt coming to this guy, and that one going to that. So we'll just, actually, those don't look too bad. Huh. Looks like it's got a piece of felt there to clean the belt as it goes by. That's kind of cool. Interesting addition there. Or maybe just keep it stable. In order to get that out, I guess we'll have to take out this whole cassette deck mechanism. 5 screws, 2 on this side and 1 hidden in there that kind of loosen the cassette deck. So it seems to be loose. I just got to figure out how to get it past all these wires and things. Oh, there we go. Maybe I can kind of work it around these wires so I don't have to snip that. Okay, just removing 5 additional screws allows me to rotate this cassette deck back. I can now access everything. Looks like they use gears instead of idlers. The little fixed magnet erase head. Yeah, very cheap mechanism, 1 motor. But at least now I can get rid of these 2 screws and I can get to the belts. So there's some little indentions in the bottom that sort of snap into place, so you had to very carefully pop those out after removing the screws. Now that should allow this to come up. The top part is hooked in. Let's see, I wonder how you get this back in. Okay, oh, okay, the decks themselves come down. Okay, this one's on the bottom, this one's on the top. Now I gotta remember, take those loose. So there we have it. Let's see if I can turn this around for the camera. So there we have it. There's the El Cheapo motor mechanism. Clean that up and see if I've got some belts in my collection that'll replace these 2 belts. And while I'm in here, I may try to go ahead and replace those too. That seems to be the fast forward and rewind. If I can't find replacements, I'll just boil these because this is really probably not worth a lot of effort. It's not going to be a very good quality mechanism, but we will get it working. So in the next section, I discover that it wasn't belts, but something plastic in contact with the flywheel that was the problem. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it has to do with the orientation of the deck or whatever, but I'm assuming it's supposed to spring out of the way when it's running, but I was hearing like a shushing noise and some bad speed, so it may not have been the belts, and maybe it's something to do with this thing. So I'm just going to make sure and put some oil on this and put it back together and see if that helps. And of course, now that I got this out, I can also replace this belt as well. So right after I did that, it sprang loose and shot across the room. So right after I did that last shot, so when I put that in there, you could tell it just leaves a trail. So it is contacting this. That's not going to be good for the speed. I wonder if it's broken. I wonder if this originally was on that axle and the plastic has just come loose. So this is the deck I haven't touched yet, and this thing is just totally loose over here. And this, you know, I remember I had to get it going. I think the spring, I wonder if these plastic pieces, the centerpiece is just cracked, and so it's putting pressure on this. That's why the other one won't go without me starting. You can just hear it. You could just hear it making constant contact. That's not good. That's probably what's causing my speed problem. The belts are probably fine because I got all these neato belt cleaners on here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put this thing together without these, whatever they are, and see if the tape deck works. One thing about this boombox, as cheap as it is, it does have a lot of space internally that's available, so you could probably mount a Bluetooth board and maybe a switch in there if you wanted to modernize it a bit and add Bluetooth. This particular one is run ragged, and the whole boombox itself is not a very good quality item, but if you were able to get like a new old stock one of these or something, it might be worth it. You could put an auxiliary input there, but I'm just going to stick it back together. So after all my messing around, it seems to work just fine. Let's see, both deck. That one works now. This one still works fine. Probably needs a little azimuth adjustment. Well, one thing I think I broke taking these little pieces out was the pause control. It doesn't latch anymore. So that may be what these things were for, but one thing I can't demonstrate anymore that was sort of working is continuous play. So with continuous play, what it would do is unpause it. So if you have something started here and something started here, at the end of this tape, if it was paused, when the auto stop hit, it would unpause that one so you could play one tape then another. But I've deactivated the pause control, unfortunately, by removing that little springy part. If you want to hear Pink Floyd playing with Kool and the Gang, you just play both decks. This door is kind of cracked and crumbly, so I think I'm going to move my one spring that I've got over to this deck, since the door can probably handle the pressure a lot more. Yeah, I guess we'll move that spring back there. I think there's a plastic piece rattling around in the inside, which may have come off this door, so that may be why that didn't work. Well, that was a waste of time. Let's move it back. A lot smoother eject on this side. But yeah, this thing is just really not worth a lot of investment. It's an interesting conversation piece, but it's kind of just not high quality enough probably to invest a lot of money in. Let's do a quick listening test.
In his video, and he said, ooh, out with the old, in with the new. His name is David Coverdale, lead singer for Whitesnake. Here's number 7 of the weekly Top 40 special, Here I Go Again.
Oh yeah, I remember this song. It's from Geico commercials.